Good evening, everybody. I just wanted to welcome you all. We're going to get started here in, another few seconds. Let everybody roll in. So we'll get started here momentarily. All right. It looks like the numbers have stopped growing, so let's go ahead and get started here. I want to welcome you all tonight. Thank you for joining us at our town hall. With me are some amazing people. So I will quickly introduce them and then we're going to jump right into your questions. We have a lot. Thank you for submitting your questions ahead of time. We have a lot to get through and not much time to do it in. So with me tonight, I have Interim Dean and Professor of History, Ari Kelman, and also Faculty Advisor to the Dean and Professor of English, Claire Waters. And Metzli Montero, she is one of our ambassadors of letters and science. She's a third-year physics student, applied physics. And I'm Mark Foncannon. I'm the Director of Student Recruitment and Career Development for the College of Letters and Science. So once again, welcome everybody. We're going to go through the questions you submitted to us ahead of time. We're going to try and get through as many of them as we can. If we have time at the end, we will take your questions live. So without further ado, let's get started. Dean Kelman, and if it's okay with you, I'm going to refer to you as Ari because that's how I know you, Ari. So Ari, do you want to talk a little bit about COVID-19 and UC Davis? How are things going now, fall quarter? How have we prepared for this? And also maybe what next quarter and maybe next fall is going to look like. We got a lot of questions about that.
Sure. Let me just step back in time for a moment as a historian. It's what I like to do. Last spring, we very suddenly had to shift our operational status from in-person to remote. For the college, that meant moving approximately 1,000 sections of courses over to remote status. We did that in a period of about 10 days, which we discovered, to nobody's surprise, is not a great way to try and thread that kind of a logistical needle. We realized relatively early in the spring quarter that it was quite likely that we would need to remain remote this fall. And once we realized that, we were able to prepare much more carefully. And that meant making sure that people had the tools that they needed to teach remotely, making sure that people had other kinds of support that they needed in order to make sure their classes would work well remotely, making sure that our advisors were prepared to do the kind of advising that they would need to do remotely, making sure that all of the ancillary services that the university makes available to our undergraduates would be available remotely, or I should say almost all of the services that the university provides to our undergraduates. We again have approximately 1,000 courses that are being taught remotely this fall, and we will have a similar number in the winter. Claire, or Professor Waters, and I have worked on this throughout the fall. We anticipated that it was very, very likely that the overwhelming majority of our courses would remain remote into the winter quarter. Again, as a consequence of that understanding, we were able to do more preparation than we would have done otherwise. And the university has had a fairly exacting process about determining in the end which courses can be taught in person and which can be taught remotely, which the result of which is that very, very few classes will be taught in person. This was going to be the case even before Yolo County saw its color-coded status move back to purple. Now that our status is purple, it would be very, very difficult for us to do more teaching in person than we are already planning to do. And it seems likely to me, though I'm a historian, not someone who sees the future, it seems unlikely to me that we will have a significant shift for spring quarter. I think we are hoping that we will be able to teach more classes in person in the spring, but not significantly more. And so again, we are simply going to prepare to keep our students, our faculty, our staff, all of the members of the university community as safe as we possibly can. Doing that, knowing that we are now able to deliver the curriculum remotely, though it is not our preference to do so, which leads me to next fall. Again, not able to predict the future with any kind of accuracy, but based on the good news that I imagine most of the participants in this town hall have seen, that there are now 2 vaccines that have a very, very high rate of efficacy. We are likely to see additional announcements, we hope, to that effect in the coming days or weeks. And so at this point, insofar as it is my job to try and figure out what's going to happen next year, we are pointing toward in-person instruction. We will remain cautious, and we have a great many months between now and then. If we need to shift our footing again, we will do so. But in terms of our internal planning, we are certainly hoping that we will be in person in the fall, assuming that the vaccines are readily available.
There's my unmute button. Couldn't find the cursor. Ari, before you, okay, take a drink. Can you talk really briefly about what the campus is doing for testing? I mean, I think UC Davis is sort of unique in the offerings that we have and the resources that we have. So what are we doing currently for testing our students to keep the residents of the community, both students and staff and faculty, safe?
Unfortunately, again, it's a multi-part answer. I'm going to try and be quicker though this time. I don't know that we're unique, but we are very unusual as a campus in that we are doing our own testing. We have a provost right now who is an epidemiologist who worked very, very closely with the head of our medical center and also our veterinary medical school, and put together testing protocols which themselves have been tested and have passed the state and the county's public health regulations. As a consequence, we are able to test people who are on campus. We started that testing with a relatively small number of students. We ramped it up over time. We are now beginning to test all faculty, staff, and students who are coming to campus. That is going to be the case over the next few weeks. It's so far been a very, very effective program in that we've been able to stop the spread of infection, which we've been very fortunate has been very low. I should note the incidence of infection within the university community has been startlingly low. That's also been the case for the city of Davis. Yolo County has done relatively well. But the city of Davis has, at least so far, done very, very well. We do also have a partnership between the university and the city called Healthy Davis Together. And the university is working with the city to begin doing testing of residents throughout the city as well. And again, that's slowly going to ramp up through the end of this quarter and the beginning of next.
Great. Thanks, Ari. Claire, can you talk about the housing, the housing situation? What has that looked like this fall? You know, how are students told about their housing options? Is there housing for students? Are students living on campus? Can you answer some of those questions that we got?
Yeah, I can start to answer them. This is another really complicated question because it has to be so responsive to public health guidelines. And that was what the Housing Office was dealing with starting in March of last year, and certainly over the summer with people trying to figure out what they were going to be doing this fall. We do have students living on campus. The situation was evolving so fast over the summer that housing was doing everything it could. It kept sort of extending deadlines for decisions to allow for the time that we needed to figure out how to keep everyone safe and how much space we had available. The hope is that for next fall, we might have a little bit better sense of where things will be, but there will continue to be a lot of care taken about communication to make sure that people have information as soon as we can reliably give it. And with contingency plans, we had plans in place this fall, for instance, if we had to shut down after allowing people to come back, that fortunately didn't have to be made use of. So what the housing side just figured out how to do was to have students stay singly, right? So not shared rooms, which obviously reduced capacity quite a lot, but did mean that we were able to house a good number of students on campus. And I actually am not certain what number we ended up at. Ari, you may know more exactly than I do. I have 4,000 in my head, but is that about right? Yeah.
It's right around 4,000. Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. And that's on in-campus housing. We have a lot of students who also live in the community or in the surrounding communities. So a much greater part of the student population is local than is actually on campus. The campus has been building more housing, and so that's been helpful in this situation and giving us a little bit more capacity. And the hope is always that we can accommodate everybody who wants and needs to be here and help people do their planning in advance. That obviously was extremely hard this year. I think it will be a little bit less challenging next year.
Can I add one thing, Mark? Is that all right?
Of course, yes, please.
I just wanted to speak to the question of contingency plans that Claire mentioned a moment ago. One of the things that the campus did this year is that it extended the deadlines for on-campus student housing twice so that students weren't locked into housing contracts if they chose, because most of our classes are being offered remotely, to live elsewhere. Either to live in the community or to remain at home or elsewhere. I would anticipate that if we continue to have uncertainty, and again, I'm choosing to be optimistic, at least during this call, I would anticipate that even if we have good news about the fall, we will, as Claire said, keep those contingencies in place so that we don't lock people in case our plans need to change.
And that's the message we've heard all along from housing. So thank you both for addressing that. I will answer one other question we got about housing. We do guarantee housing, and that is still the case. It could change, but right now we are guaranteeing housing for 2 years. So for first-year freshmen who want to live on campus, we are guaranteeing that for 2 years, and the same with transfer students. So we are guaranteeing housing for transfers as well. That 4,000 included both first-year and transfers living on campus. In the multitude of resident spaces that we have. All right, so switching gears a little bit, Claire, don't unmute yourself just yet. I have questions about how are students getting experience outside of the classroom? So, you know, especially now, but let's talk about in general terms as well, under normal times, if there is a normal time. Research opportunities. How are students getting research experience?
There are a lot of answers to that because there are a lot of different kinds of research opportunities on campus, which is great. There's everything from, of course, we have a really substantial science, technology, engineering side of campus where there are a lot of labs running. And it's very standard, indeed, almost universal for graduate students to work in those labs, but it is also extremely common for undergraduates to hold positions in labs. And under the current situation, there were very early, stringent, careful rules for returns to work for labs because otherwise research had to stop, and that's very problematic. And so there are very careful protocols in place that have meant that some, certainly grad students and even some undergraduates have continued to be able to do research work of various kinds in labs. It might be, you know, there are communications actually as a field in letters and science that runs labs where you might be processing surveys, but you might be helping with experiments, you might be looking after animals, you might be doing any number of different kinds of tasks that help train you in a given area. There are also a lot, many, perhaps most departments have an internship coordinator. So most departments have some provision for helping students find internships that are relevant to the field. Some of them have sort of substantial ongoing internship programs of particular kinds. So in my own department, for instance, I have a colleague who has created a Shakespeare video game and takes it into public schools, and some of our students who are interested in becoming teachers go and work in the schools and work with the kids. And one of the aspects of that is letting them play this game. There are also the study abroad programs. Some of those have a major internship component where you can get, where part of what you do during your time abroad is to be placed in a work situation of some kind and gain experience in that area. So there's kind of too much to talk about. I'll just say one last thing. You can be really enterprising about finding research opportunities on campus, and that's great. I actually know a first year like an incoming first year student, not a transfer, who met somebody at a kind of virtual reception, heard about the lab they were working in, wrote to the professor, and is now working in that lab. So that was a case of somebody saying, that sounds interesting, let me go do it. But there are also sort of cafes and meetups designed for people who are interested in research opportunities who haven't maybe come across the right thing for them yet. So there are structures to help people find that.
Again, let me just quickly add one thing. Sorry, Mark. If people who are participating in the town hall want, they can go look at the Big Ideas website for UC Davis, where they'll find information about something called Aggie Launch, which gives people a sense of what a priority this is for the university right now, and how there will be more of these sorts of opportunities in the coming years. So again, it's
That's
Big
great.
Ideas, which is bigideas.ucdavis.edu. And then if you take a look at Aggie Launch.
There it is. Kristen, behind the scenes, our helper behind the scenes. Thank you, Kristen, for dropping that link in the chat to everybody. All right, so I'm going to switch gears to Metzli. Metzli, are you ready?
Yes, I am.
Metzli, our resident student in the room. So we did get some questions about, like, what does a typical day look like for students, you know, the first year? Do you want to talk just sort of generally like the transition from high school, or if you know community college students, what that transition looks like, and then maybe what students should expect in like that first year?
Yeah, so something that I hear a lot, the two things. One is that first year is all about transitioning. And so especially the first quarter, it's all about, one, trying to get into the quarter system, because not going to lie, like if you went to a high school or community college that was semester system, the quarter system is a big change. Going on about all about transition, you know, college classes are really difficult, and especially since like UC Davis is a really good school and we have amazing professors and amazing students, and so, you know, it gets tough. Fortunately though, for at least for me, I was fortunate enough to have a dorm experience in which my RA was super hands-on and was able to share resources. Something that, like, if you're having difficulties with school, there's, you know, the academic assistance and tutoring center. There's at each housing center there are tutoring. Another thing I like to say is that besides transitioning, get used to like how big the campus is. um, you know, you get lost. I do have to say though, the first year, that's your opportunity to try new things, be it, you know, random classes that the school offers, such as, you know, our fairy tale class, or, you know, a bird class or a music class. I think the amazing thing about having such a huge campus with a diverse faculty is that you have a lot of experiences, resources, and opportunities at your fingertips. You just have to find them.
Right, right. Metzli, you lived in the dorms your first year, right?
Yes.
Do you want to talk a little bit about like how you found your people? Like, how did you build community? And how are you maintaining those relationships now?
Yeah. So interestingly enough, so my first year I was at the dorms. I was fortunate enough to sign up for a living learning community. And for those of you who may not know, UC Davis offers living learning communities. And so these communities have themes. So for instance, we have a living learning community for anybody who's interested in pre-health, for engineering, for if you identify as Chicanx. It's all, you know, an opportunity to kind of meet people with common interests. And there are also, you know, dorms without themes, but regardless, dorms are an amazing place to get to know people. And so for me, I was in the living learning community for pre-health. So although I'm not pre-health anymore, you know, common rooms, dorm events, the RAs do a really good job of hosting events like movie nights and things to get people mingling, talking. You can even like send notes to your neighbors. I was really fortunate enough to hit it off with my roommates and my neighbors, and coincidentally now we're apartment roommates. So if any of you have the chance to live in a dorm your first year, highly recommend, because it's a great opportunity to not only network with individuals who will be in like future fields that you may be in, but it's also a great opportunity to, you know, find a buddy and explore campus together.
Absolutely. Totally agree. I didn't mention that I'm a UC Davis alum and I also lived in the dorms. It was a long time ago, a long time. The buildings aren't even here anymore. That's how long ago it was. But I had the same experience. Like you know, you live with people, you stay, you know, and you know, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I agree. Live in the dorms if you can, and it's an opportunity for you. So we talked a little bit about now, you know, what we're doing, getting ready for this year in terms of remote learning, some of the ways that our students are getting involved, and how we've had to kind of switch gears a little bit to make sure students are still learning, but also, you know, getting their hands-on experiences. But Claire, I want to ask you, and also you, Ari, but how are we supporting our students? So what resources do we have in place, especially now, I mean, you know, remotely, are still available to students? So specifically, we did get a question, actually a few, about like mental health services. And I think especially now it's really important. So let's start with what kind of resources there are on campus for students who might need that kind of help.
Yeah, it's a great question. It's always a really important question. And as you say, especially right now. So there are an enormous number of people on campus whose whole job and training has to do with supporting students. And they're in various kinds of roles. Some of them are mental health experts. So we have a free counseling service that you can sign up for. You can get in touch with on campus. There's the Office of Student Support, which also that's their training, is to work with students on all kinds of issues and get them to the help that they need. Because one of the things that's hard on a campus this big, as Metzli was saying, you know, both physically and sort of in terms of diversity, is that there's so many resources that sometimes that's a little overwhelming. So there's a kind of frequently asked questions page that a lot of faculty put on their course sites that tries to help navigate that. But there are also people in the college advising office. That's one place you would be assigned an advisor and you would have to meet with them, and that person can also help connect you with other people who might be able to help with other issues that you're having, if it has to do with housing or with mental health issues or with food insecurity or anything like that. There are offices for backup. Student support also does major advisors. Every department has one or more advisors in the major. So if you come in with a major, that person is another resource for you. The faculty also are always ready to help do what they can to get students backup and support. We have a lot of also community resource and retention centers, such a big range. We have the Center for African Diaspora Student Success, LGBTQIA, Chicana Student Success. So a real range, the center that Metzli mentioned as well. So for, yeah, in some ways, I think the thing is to find, to get someone to help you make that connection. And also you're going to be given so many addresses and places to check, to kind of make yourself a little checklist might be a good idea.
Yep. Ari, do you want to talk about mandatory advising and why that is so important for us as a way to, you know, not just have an academic conversation, but to maybe connect students, almost force a conversation about being able to connect students to some of these resources?
We don't like to use the word force, Mark. We prefer strongly encourage or incentivize.
Strongly encourage.
One of the key variables, maybe one of the most important variables in determining whether or not students succeed as undergraduates. And in this case, I'm defining success both as finding a major that they're going to be happy with and then graduate on time, is whether or not they're working with an academic advisor. Academic advisors help them plot a course of study, help them figure out whether or not classes are going to be available in a timely fashion, and connect them with campus resources of a variety of different kinds. And so in the College of Letters and Science, we do have mandatory advising, which means that students must meet with their advisors, whether it's at the departmental or the college level, depends to a great extent on the student, on which department they're in. And we have seen very, very, very good results since we've moved to mandatory advising. We've seen time to degree shrink considerably, and we've seen persistence rates, climb. And so it's a very, very effective way of helping our students.
Yeah, so Claire, you touched on this, and Ari, you did a little bit as well. I just want to make sure that everyone understands that we call it mandatory, and you know, we force students to get in, but it's not. It's a great way for students to come in, but so we actually have in the dean's office, in the advising office for students in our college, we have 2 mental health counselors. They are embedded in our office, so they are there specifically for our students. And so if those conversations go from an academic theme to maybe the advisor is hearing that student might just need a well-being check-in, they're able to connect that student right away to one of our 2 mental health counselors. And then Claire also mentioned how we're able to connect students to different resources. We have a case manager. So we have an embedded case manager that our advisors can, when we're in person, physically walk them to, and then that person can help the student navigate some of the various resources that Claire talked about with, in terms of like maybe disability resource center. So if the student might have trouble with test taking, anxiety or things like that, or food insecurity, Aggie Compass, so many different resources. And so in the dean's office, and actually, Ari was, before he got promoted, used to oversee that department. So I think he is really key in building that kind of community that we have in the dean's office, specifically in letters and science, and that kind of support structure. So kudos to him for that, and for really being aware of the needs of our students. All right, so we did get a lot of questions about applying to UC Davis. So I figured I would just take a few of those questions about applying. So we heard from several of you wondered whether or not you declare a major when you apply. Do you have to declare a major when you apply? And at UC Davis, it may not be the case at all UCs, but at UC Davis, you do not have to declare a major. You can still use undeclared if you're unsure. And we actually have 4 options for undeclared. Technically, we have 5, but one's over in biological sciences. But you can use one of those options, but you do otherwise declare a major to the College of Letters and Science. You should also use the alternative major. So you get a first choice major and you get a second choice major. Again, this may not be true for all UC campuses, but it is one application for all UC campuses. That was also a question. So you're filling out one application to be considered for any and all UCs that you want to apply to. But for us, definitely use the first choice major. Again, you could use undeclared. But when it comes to being admitted, by and large, students in our college are admitted to the college. So you apply to the College of Letters and Science, you make the cutoff, you're admitted. And really that's across the board at UC Davis. There are some majors in engineering that might not apply to, but for us, you're applying to the college. We don't admit by major. What were some of the other questions we had about applications? Oh, personal insight questions. So none of us are admissions officers. So let me be clear. None of us are admissions officers. I've read for admissions, but I don't do it currently. But what I do know about the personal insight questions, and I may actually ask Metzli to talk about her experience with the PIQs, but you choose 4. And it's really important to answer the question. So make sure that you answer the question. Find the 4 that are going to that are really going to be able to highlight your strengths and highlight your experience, but also might be unique enough where you're not having to tell the same story in multiple questions. So Metzli, do you want to talk a little bit about your experience with the application and the personal insight questions specifically?
Yeah, so first off, I highly recommend that you start your application early and submit it a little early. I don't know if anyone in the audience is a procrastinator, but I am. And, okay, little story. My computer crashed the week of application due dates, but on the bright side, it made for a good college essay. So, so I would say, going off of what Mark said, the point of these insight questions is for the admissions to know who you are as a person, because unfortunately, they will not have the opportunity to meet with you face to face, talk to you on your interests, passions, your goals, dreams. And so their impression of you is your application. And so you want to reveal like your interests, or as Mark said, your strengths, your weaknesses, but your plans to overcome them, and just be as authentic as you can be. Because, I mean, I can't really speak for admissions, but it's, they just want to get to know you. And so as long as you're honest, and for me personally, when I wrote the essays, I did an audio recording. I just talked about myself. and then use that to help myself write. But you can also be creative and, write poetry. It doesn't have to be an essay, apparently. So, yeah.
Yes, exactly. If your strength is poetry, use it. Use it to your advantage. The questions are all weighted equally. So no one question gives you, more points than another. But I did want to mention, because we got questions about standardized tests. So the UC as a system is now a test-free, we are now test-free. So all UC campuses are now considered test-free. So for what that means for UC Davis in particular is you can take the SAT or the ACT, and some of those might be required for, it might be that you're applying to a private scholarship or something along those lines, and it might satisfy a requirement for like the English language writing requirement or something like that, but it's not necessary. So if you do take the SAT or the ACT or both, and you include them on your application, a reader, a reviewer of your application will not see it. So when we now say that we are test-free, they are not considered at all for admission purposes. So again, you might need them. Other schools might need them, so you might need to take them for other school systems. But for the UC and UC Davis in particular, we are now test-free. You do not have to have the SAT or the ACT. Okay, let's see, what other questions do we have? Metzli, if I can come back to you. Given the size of UC Davis, what are we, Ari? Are we 36,000 undergrads? Yeah, so big campus. No, that's not right. That is right.
Oh, we're 36,000 overall. Little
Overall,
more
thank you.
36,000. We're 28,000 undergraduates, roughly speaking.
Okay, perfect, thank you. Okay, so given those numbers, Metzli, how does a student, find their place? So like, are there clubs, organizations, student groups that students can get connected to, and how might they do that?
Yeah, so as I mentioned earlier, there are a lot of things UC Davis offers, and it's just really a matter of finding them. Something that I recommend to anybody going to college is to find clubs. So find people with common interests, because I think that's a really quick and kind of easy way to find people who are in your own little niche. With UC Davis, we have a website, I think, called Aggie Life, where you can search up clubs and send emails to these clubs and ask them about information in regards to their meeting. Go to club meetings. And now that we're virtual, a lot of clubs are still ongoing with events, be it playing Among Us or playing video games online, having movie nights. Things are, although the campus is still like, as Dean Ari mentioned, a bunch of changes are happening. The students are still, rolling with school and socializing online. Another thing I would say in regards to large classes, not gonna lie, there are some classes that are huge. Something that a lot of students do is attend office hours, either with professors or TAs. A lot of classes also offer small discussion sections where you have maybe 15 students from your class just discussing what you've learned from class. That is a great opportunity to exchange contact info. More currently, since we're virtual, a lot of students have taken the self-initiative to create Discord channels. So we have huge group chats with, for instance, in my case for physics, we have a Discord channel with pretty much everybody in the major, and we're all like color coded, and it's a quick and easy way to stay connected. So really just go out there, send some emails, and if you ask people for their contact info, more than often than not, they're happy to give it.
They'll give it. Yeah, that's great. Thank you. Yeah, I don't know if you mentioned this or not, but there are over 800 registered student organizations on campus. So lots of ways for students to connect with other students. So I'd like to maybe switch gears again. Sorry, we're doing a lot of switching gears here. Ari, where do students go once they graduate? Like what are some of the job opportunities, career opportunities? What have you heard or talked to some of our alumni about once they leave the college, UC Davis?
Well, in addition to forcing them to go to advising, we also put tracking devices on them. So we're able to keep track of them. Students from the College of Letters and Science end up in all manner of lines of work. We have graduates who are filmmakers. We have graduates who are physicists. We have graduates who are fine artists. We have graduates who are chemists. We have graduates who are school teachers. We have graduates who are professional athletes. The thing about being a college that is as large and as diverse as the College of Letters and Science is that it becomes an academic home for all sorts of different people who have all sorts of different goals. And we provide them with the opportunity to begin a career in whatever their chosen field may be. Including, I should actually add one final thing. We have a lot of students who go on to graduate school. We have students who go to law school. We have students who get PhDs. We have students who continue their education. They use UC Davis as the first step in what will be an educational process. And we have fairly robust networks made up of our alumni who help our graduates and our current students find, going back to a question that Claire addressed earlier, internships, but also job opportunities when they graduate.
I just want to tag on to that for a second. So I have 3 alumni coming back to talk with our Aggie Explorers class. So our Aggie Explorers class is a unit that our advisors oversee, and it's mainly for students who are undeclared. So students who might not have a sense for what they necessarily want to study, or maybe they're thinking about it, but they haven't quite landed on something yet. And so a group of our advisors on our team oversee the Aggie Explorers class. And I don't know what week it is, maybe week 7 or week 8 of the quarter, where we have 3 alumni coming back to talk about their experiences. So yeah, I mean, when we engage with them, we network with them, they make connections. I mean, all of us, I mean, Metzli excluded because she is still a student, all of us were once students. And I mean, this is what we're about. So Ari forgot to mention that our alumni are also directors of student recruitment and career development for, the biggest college at a top 10 university, whatever, I thought that would be at the top of the list. It's okay. So a little bit more about networking and career readiness. The Internship and Career Center is a great resource for our students. Claire, what has been your experience working? I know you talked about having some advisors like, our connectors but for the Internship and Career Center, can you talk about maybe some of the things that you've seen or heard that they offer for our students, career fairs, resume writing, that kind of thing?
Yeah, they have a lot of sort of organized services, as you say, right? Sort of arranged events on campus. So there's the Careers Fair makes me think of the Majors Fair, but there are a lot of events of that kind where you can go and see people from a major you might be interested in or from a career you might want to pursue. So the ICC runs events like that. They have, as you say, right, sort of coaching or support services to help you work on your resume. They also collaborate with departments. My own department has been running a course in in connection with them to help students think about how to make the bridge from the major that they're doing to different kinds of jobs. Because a lot of our departments, people go on to do very, very varied things, right? If you study pharmaceutical chemistry, it's probably because you're going to become a pharmaceutical chemist. But a lot of LNS majors don't have that one-to-one correspondence. You have the one thing you start with, and you can go to about 1,000 other things, such as, for instance, director of recruitment. So internship and career center and the majors try to coordinate to help students sort of figure out those links. We bring back alumni in the majors. They do that as well, I think, in a centralized way. So they're a great resource.
Perfect. Thank you for that. We did get a lot of questions about majors specifically. And so I'm going to talk generally about some majors, but I do want to mention, I think Metzli touched on it a little bit about, some class size. So we did get a question, or a few questions actually, about our student to faculty ratio. And for the campus, we are roughly 18, 19 to 1. I think it sort of, goes back and forth. But we're somewhere around 18, 19 to 1. But what I've realized is that the student to faculty ratio should never be equated with, you should never assume that that means big classes or small classes, because a student in maybe a smaller program like marine and coastal science, for example, where it's 10 to 1 student to faculty ratio, those students are going to be in 100, 200, 300 student sized lectures, right? They're going to be in classes that have several hundred students in them. But the further you go, and this is the case for any major on campus, the further along you go, and Metzli can speak to this, the further along you go in your major curriculum, the smaller your classes are going to get. So, but there are some majors like medieval and early modern studies, or, as I mentioned, marine and coastal science, or art history and American studies and geology and history and African American and African studies, and a few others that are 10 to 1 or even smaller. And so for major programs that might have a smaller student to faculty ratio, and I'm sure Claire can speak to this, and Ari, because they're both faculty members in these programs, when you sign up for a program like that, you're going to get the chance to get more of a small liberal arts college feel in a 36,000, which includes grad students, university. So all the benefits that come with being a top 10 are Research One institution. But if you're in a program like, as I said, history or medieval and early modern studies or American studies or some of these others, religious studies, your faculty are going to get to know you. And I've said this in a lot of my other sessions, but which could be a good thing, is a good thing, but they might also notice when you're not there. When you're not in class, they might notice. And so, but the benefit of that is that Claire is going to check in on you and make sure, I haven't seen you the last couple of class sessions. So that is definitely one of the benefits of being in one of those smaller programs. So that was a long-winded answer to say, when you ask questions about the student to faculty ratio, it's not always going to equate to a class size. Okay, I wanted to make sure I covered that. Claire, please. Do you have something to add?
Yeah, the one thing I wanted to add that I don't think we've said anything about yet is double majoring. A lot of people do more than one major, or do a major and a minor, a major and a couple of minors. Some people get up to 4, like 2 majors and 2 minors. That's a little extreme, but it can be done. And it's one of the nice things that a lot of the majors in LNS have enough flexibility that it is possible to make some really interesting combinations. I think a few years ago, I had a student who had a psych and East Asian languages double major and minored in medieval and early modern studies. I think she's probably the only one in history with that particular combination, but people come up with really great, interesting combinations that meet their interests. So.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you for adding that. And students can change majors. So we're really flexible with that at UC Davis. There are some majors that you have to fulfill some prerequisites for in order to make that change. But students can change their majors after the first quarter. So specifically after the first quarter is when you can start to do that. Metzli, did you want to add anything about, when I was talking about majors, I called you up, but I can't remember what I was asking about. No, it's not ringing any bells.
Oh, I was going to say, I think you were talking about class sizes, and I was just nodding my head about, just a small thing to add on that note. It's a lot of majors have like general classes that overlap. For instance, chemistry, for at least for me, applied physics, chemistry. I had to take Gen Chem and then general chemistry, general physics, and for fun, I took general biology. And those general classes are huge, mainly because a lot of majors require them as like a prerequisite for higher level classes. But as Mark said, as you get higher level, classes will be smaller. And that's also a good opportunity to get to know students who have similar interests to you.
Great. Okay, so in the last few minutes that we have, we did get some just general UC Davis questions. So bikes. What's the story with bikes, Ari? Like, do you have to have a bike to get around? Is that the only way that students get around?
Mandatory advising, tracking devices, and bikes. Yes. No. Davis has good weather. It gets hot in the summer and a bit rainy in the winter sometimes, but mostly we have very temperate weather, and it's a great place for riding. It's very flat here. There are bike lanes everywhere you go, and so lots and lots of people, including Professor Waters, including me, ride their bikes all over town. It's in many ways, I think, probably the best way to get around campus, for sure. It's very, very challenging to drive on campus or near campus. Claire, with her as ever amazing poker face, is managing to totally keep it together. She says no to driving, no. It's really tough to drive around campus, and it's a big campus. It sprawls, and so sometimes there's not as much time as we'd like between classes, and a student or a member of the faculty has to get from one side of campus to the other. And a bike is going to be by far and away the best way to do that. And it's fun, and it's good for you, and it gets you outside. And it doesn't contribute to climate change. I can go on and on and on and on and on. Bikes are great. We want more bikes.
More bikes.
Though I will say, at the very, very beginning of every fall quarter, you do have to look both ways when you cross any of the streets on campus, because there are lots and lots of people who in many cases apparently haven't ridden bikes since they were much younger. You never forget how to ride a bike, but you do forget how to obey traffic regulations. And so it can be really hazardous for that first few weeks of the fall quarter. You don't want to step out into the street without looking, as I say, both ways carefully.
That is true. That's true. Metzli, you have lived off campus for, well, a couple of years. Do you bike or do you bus to campus these days, or maybe last year?
I mean, I'm all for bikes. I used bikes my first year, but I kind of just started walking everywhere. Not gonna lie though, it's a brisk power walk if your classes are from one end of campus to another, but in 10 minutes you can do it with the right mental power. But yeah, living off campus, I typically bus. I use Unitrans, which I absolutely love and highly recommend anybody to use. Or if you're not familiar with using buses, you can learn them to how to use them here at Davis. So
Yeah, and if you're lucky, you might live on one of the lines with the old double-decker English buses, the Harry Potter bus, I call it. Claire, where is your favorite place to eat on campus?
Oh, my favorite place on campus is the MU, the Memorial Union. They make pho there. It's really good. And they have really good tofu salad. I'm a vegetarian, so I really like the MU. Yeah, it's very close also.
It is close to our office. How about you, Ari? Where's your favorite place to eat, either on campus or maybe close to campus, since campus and the city of Davis are, right next door?
Claire's going to make fun of me because I'm grumpy about food in Davis. So I'm just going to agree with Claire. I think that the MU is really great. I like getting salads over there. I like the pizza over there. I like the burritos over there. The coffee shop is great. I don't drink coffee, but they have amazing baked goods. They have the best Rice Krispie treats in the world.
They're as big as your face.
Maybe not my face, but someone who has a smaller face, yes. And so I'll stick with that.
Metzli, where is your favorite place to relax and hang out on campus?
there are many, many places. I think as I think somebody mentioned before, the weather in Davis is really nice. So you can stay indoors, outdoors. Some of my favorite places are like the Women's Resource Center, the Student Community Center, the library, as well as outside. You just, put a small blanket on the floor. There's hammocks you can lay on. The Arboretum, most definitely. Just there's a lot of places that you can hang around and take a nap.
And Metzli, when you're not on campus and you're not studying, what is there to do around Davis, both in the city, but also, in our region, since I don't know if everybody on the call knows sort of where we're located. I probably should have mentioned that at the beginning, but we're about 15 minutes west of Sacramento, so about an hour and a half out of the Sierras, and about an hour to an hour and a half from the Bay Area. So Metzli, what are some of the things you like to do when you're not studying, not on campus?
Yeah, with my roommates, sometimes we take a study break and we make it a tradition to go on Saturdays to the farmers market that we have in Davis, which is a cool opportunity to like eat food. Another thing we like to do is just walk around downtown. We have a lot of like movie theaters here, so watch a movie, go shopping at some stores or window shopping. I do think there's a lot of things to try in Davis, but I also think that, some of y'all are from big cities, so there's Sacramento and the Bay Area. I haven't personally gone to Sacramento a lot to explore, but the times that I have been really cool. There's shopping centers, museums you can go to, pretty much an entire experience if you're an explorer.
Yeah, and of course, even if you don't have a car, the Amtrak goes to Sacramento, but it also goes all the way down to the Bay Area, where you can get off and grab the BART, the Bay Area Rapid Transit into San Francisco. So yes, Metzli.
Oh, not to mention too, there's a Unitrans bus that goes from Davis to the airport, but the loop goes through Sacramento, so you can also take the bus.
Yep. So we have one more minute. Do we want to answer that question, Ari, about quarter at Aggie Square? But if you want to hang with us for maybe 1 or 2 more minutes, I have one last question, and it's just 2 to 3 words from each of you. But Ari, do you want to talk about the quarter at Aggie Square?
It's going to take a long time to talk about the quarter at Aggie Square. Look, it's an immersive opportunity to think about a big problem in a residential learning context with a team of scholars and students all working together. And it's very, very early in its, and so we'll learn more about it as time goes on, but it looks very, very promising and exciting. There, that was quick.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And maybe Kristen will drop the Aggie Square link in the chat really quick. So last question for each of you, 1 to 2 words, maybe 3 words. What is unique about UC Davis? So when you're thinking about UC Davis compared to maybe some of our sister campuses or other schools you've worked at or been to, like, why is UC Davis unique? How are we unique? Or what makes us underrated? That was the actual question. What makes us underrated? I was like, are we underrated?
Oh,
Wait,
oh.
Is it just like 3 words that we have to come up with? 'Cause
Don't be bound
3
by
words.
3 words. Go
Yeah.
for it, Metzli.
No, don't be
I
bound.
was gonna
Don't be
say,
bound.
the amount of experiences, the amount of random things I have tried here on campus is astounding. You have the vet center, the med center, you have a bunch of resources. Try random things, random sports. Volunteer at a horse hospital for baby horses. That's what I did my freshman year.
Yep.
The world is your oyster.
Perfect. That's right. It is.
I'll say the thing that,
Claire?
yeah, the thing that I always think is not said enough about Davis is that we really are the main example in the UC system of a really big comprehensive Research One university in a real college town. And that's a particular model of college experience. Not everybody wants that, but if that's your thing, that's what we do. So it's I think it's a great combination. Also, we have awesome students.
Yes, we do.
Ari? Underrated. I don't know if we're underrated. We have an amazing campus. We have an extraordinary location. We're close to the Bay Area if you want to go there. We're close to Sacramento if you want to go there. We're close to the mountains. We're close to the ocean. I think that the thing that I appreciate the most about our campus is that it's an unusually happy place. Our students like being here. Our faculty like being here. Most of our students had opportunities to go elsewhere if they wanted to, but they chose to be here. They have a sense of accomplishment about being here. And the same is true of most of our faculty, that they have opportunities to be elsewhere if they wanted to do that, and they choose to be here. And so people feel good about Davis. It's one of those places where, well, actually, you're a good example of this, Mark. It's one of those places where our alumni stay connected with the campus and look back on their years here fondly, really for the rest of their lives. It's a very, very, very special place. We're all very lucky to be part of it.
I just want to echo what you just said, Ari. For me, having gone here and now work here, like, it just makes me proud to be affiliated with this campus, because when you're looking at all the needs that the world has, UC Davis is coming up with solutions to all of them. When it comes, climate, human rights, everything, food insecurity, all of it. We're coming up with solutions to all of it, and it just makes me so proud to be a part of this campus. So that is our time. We're actually over time, and I really wanted to get us out on time. I did my best. Thank you all for joining us. Thank you to our panelists. Ari, thank you. Claire, thank you so much. Metzli, my student Metzli, thank you. Thank you all for joining us. And you have my contact information. If you have further questions, feel free to reach out, particularly as you're working on those UC applications. So we hope to see you soon.
Yeah.
Go Ags.
Thanks for coming.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.